Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer online action. We're back with the Beastmen here, going to be facing off against a Vampire Count's opponent, definitely in for a good time. And this battle is a pretty good showcase of one of the main ways that I think the Beastmen need to be played, which is very much to use the terrain to your advantage and try and, get a favorable engagement, as well as using superior mobility and so on. So let's go ahead and take a look at the army build here. So here in the center, it's a fairly small infantry line. We've got Koroks Man-Rippers and one other Bestigor herd, backed up by two Ungor Spearmen herd. We've got the Regiment of Renowned Butchers of Kalkengard here for some nice damage dealing. We've also got a Brave Shaman Lore of Wild with Viletide and Evolve. Of course, he's also got the Bestial Surge to help refresh my troops' vigor. We've also got Morker the Shadowglaive, of course, very good in this matchup. For my mobility, we've got two units of Centaurs with throwing axes, which are a very, very good unit. These guys have pretty decent combat stats. They've got, let's see, 32 charge bonus is okay, 32 weapon strength, 22 attack, 18 defense is decent, and they also, of course, have armor-piercing missiles and 96 speed, so very, very fast. A good unit for harassing heavy shot cavalry and, kind of baiting your opponent into an unfavorable engagement. We've also got hidden in the woods here a unit of Centaurs. These guys actually are not hidden right now. I'll remedy that shortly. We've also got the Sons of Goros here, a Regiment of Renown Centaurs with great weapons. A very, very good pick in almost any matchup. They're going to be backed up by Gorbel himself. He's got his buff and nothing else. So the idea here is we're going to just keep this force hidden up in the forest here until we get a favorable engagement. My opponent can see the Butchers of Kalkengard just because they can't hide in the forest. However, that's not a big deal. He's got a long way to march up the hill to get to this force. And in the meanwhile, the idea is we're going to be bringing in these mobile units here on this flank. And let's go ahead and take a look at my opponent's build. It's very heavy infantry. Well, not very heavy infantry, but, lots of infantry. He's got front line of skeleton warriors, White King just for a bit of extra tankiness there, Graveguard backing them up. Looks like 3 Graveguard. He's also got Crypt Ghouls out there, 1 unit of Cairn Wraiths, 2 units of Crypt Horrors. He's got another Skeleton Warrior here. Heinrich Kemmler is the general here. He's got 2 units of Black Knights and 1 unit of Black Knights with Lances and Barding. Very, very cool looking unit. So a small cavalry contingent, 3 units is, pretty decent. And the cavalry are definitely good against the Beastmen, especially heavy shot cavalry. So Black Knights with Lances and Barding are potentially a very dangerous unit here. The regular Black Knights not quite so much, just because they only have a 26 charge bonus, and honestly their stats aren't great overall. Definitely would have rather have seen the shock variant, but these guys can still do pretty decently in this matchup. The Crypt Ghouls can be a good pick as well. Crypt Horrors of course are very strong. Let's go ahead and kick things into full gear here. So you can see my opponent is casting Curse of Years here, so actually lowering the speed by those Centaurs by quite a bit, down to 75 it looks like. And the Black Knights still are only at 76, so they actually could be catching these guys right now. But because I ran them back into the forest, they became hidden, and these guys lost their attack order. So we're going to be able to, get through this Curse of Years here without having too much trouble. It's about to run out now, so we're going to be coming up and starting to pitch some throwing axes here. And my opponent is content to just kind of sit here for a minute, so we're going to see if we can get him to move. We'll watch these Black Knights as they charge and push these Centaurs away. Definitely we don't want to take that engagement head up, so we're just going to skirmish away through the forest here. And yeah, just try and pull. The idea is if we get a couple of these knights to, hook on these units, then we can then bring the Centaurs back here, to these other units that are hidden in the forest and get a really nice ambush. So let's see if we can do that. Right now, this unit of Black Knights has taken a bit of damage there from the throwing axes. You can see it's pretty decent. They only got a couple of volleys off, but some more damage coming in there. We're going to pull away just at the last second. A few of my Centaurs do get caught, and they take a little bit of damage, dropping 1 unit model there. And these guys haven't dropped any quite yet, but now they're dropping 1 down to 43 here. So a little bit of damage done, but nothing overly substantial. And what it is going to do is my opponent smells blood in the water here, and he's going to just continue to try and chase these guys down and get them off the field, which, definitely understand that, since the vampires don't have any ranged component to try and get rid of skirmish calves. So really this is one of the few ways you can get them, Vampire up on a Hellsteed will be able to catch them as well. I think they have enough speed to catch Centaurs, but with the Curse of Years, these guys could potentially catch, but now, look, they're way out of position here. The main Vampire force is still all way over here, and all these Knights are now in perfect spot for me to spring my ambush, and we're going to do exactly that. Let's get in for a cinematic close-up so you can see these Sons of Goros just ripping in here. They're going to do a ton of shock damage on the charge. You can see those Black Knights already down to less than half health. These ones as well. And a Gorbel's going to come in there, do some anti-large armor piercing. So this is a very bad engagement for my opponent. Even if he tried to pull away at this point, the Centaurs are fast enough that I'd be able to catch him. So at this point, he's pretty well foobarred. He does not have a lot of hope of saving these Knights, unfortunately, because they're just so out of position, and Kemmler's not anywhere close enough to be able to try and heal them. So it's going to be a rough time for my opponent, and this is exactly what I mean when I say you need to use Beastmen mobility to get a favorable engagement. By pulling away these Knights, we've neutralized a significant portion of the killing power of his army, and now, you know, it's just these infantry, and he has no mobility whatsoever, so I can pretty much just skirmish with impunity and use my mobile units, however I would like, and yeah, it's going to be a good time for sure. So we'll go ahead and fast forward as we move through this next phase. I'm just parking up my units here. My opponent, realizing that he needs to start getting up the hill, is going to start moving his big old blob of troops up there. We're going to bring these Centaurs up, and since there's nothing here that can catch them, we're just going to start pitch and throwing axes at the Crypt Horrors. The armor piercing isn't super pertinent here, but missile units in general are very good at dealing with Crypt Horrors, so you know, we'll be able to hopefully chop up a couple of their unit models before they get into combat here. But, you know, if we can draw them off like this, see, now this unit's out of position again. So, if I had been right on it, we could have potentially got these Centaurs with great weapons on them and taken them out in a big hurry. But, you know, right now we're still just kind of biding on time over here, trying to look for the right engagement. The axes are continuing to come in. You can see doing some pretty decent damage. Haven't dropped any new unit models yet, which is unfortunate because they will continue to regenerate. But you can see a Wind of Death going down there. Probably not the greatest use of Wind of Death. You definitely want to try and use it against infantry, because a very mobile, force like this will be able to fairly easily dodge it. So still full 9 unit models on those Crypt Horrors. They are crumbling now, though, so they're taking damage, and they're going to be dropping now 1 unit model there. And, the Centaurs, they don't have armor piercing in melee, at least these ones, but the Crypt Horrors only have 30 armor, so they could do a little bit of damage there, but they're going to want to pull away, not want to stay in that fight for too long. Kemmler, I saw, was a bit isolated in the back here, so we're going to get the Centaurs charging in here. They're going to be able to crumble this unit of skeletons very, very fast, and that's going to leave Kemmler isolated. I'm bringing my troops now down from the other forest, because we can get a nice favorable engagement here. These Crypt Horrors are gone, and the cavalry's gone now, so it's pretty much just cheap infantry. These Cairn Wraiths could potentially be an issue. However, ethereal units against the Beastmen are a bit of a gamble, just because they have a lot of ways of dealing magic damage. Laura Wild has Vile Tide, Devolve. They've also got Death Magic as well, so Spirit Leech, Fate of Yuna. And the Sons of Goros, I believe, also have magic attacks, if I'm not mistaken. Not sure where they get off to. Oh, they're still back here. Yes, they do. So, ethereal unit's definitely a risk against the Beastmen. Previously in the last patch I would have said they're a pretty decent pick, but, here in this patch, it's definitely tough. You can see these Best Gore getting matched up here on Graveguard. It's an ideal matchup for them. These Koroks Manrippers as well, just laying into this unit of Crypt Horrors, doing quite a bit of damage. Really, really nice. Vile Tide in there, breaking up those skeletons. You can see those Cairn Wraiths took quite a bit of damage from that Devolve and are almost crumbling already, and they haven't been able to tear out any units off yet. The Butchers of Kalkengard are also wailing on them, and with their high weapon strength, the 80% physical resistance will only do so much. Looks like White King is just kind of standing over here. Heinrich's in a bit of trouble, getting mopped up by the Gorbel over here, and all these Centaurs. We're even bringing the Missile Centaurs, because they're mostly out of ammo now, just trying to really crumble these Crypt Ghouls. Over here, lots of Graveguards still holding out, and they have decent leadership. But if we're able to get Kemmler off the field, then these Graveguard are going to have a bad time, and we can eventually just crumble them all away with army losses. You can see Kemmler's about half HP now and completely surrounded, really not in a good place. My opponent's going to try and bring these Skeleton Warriors and this White King down to help defend, but it's only going to do so much. And haven't seen Krell pop up yet, so I'm not sure if my opponent brought him. But you can see Kemmler's about to go down. He's crumbling now. This fight is really the last pocket of resistance my opponent has, and we're going to bring in lots of armor-piercing troops to finish the job here. These Butchers of Kalkengard and the Bestigor, you know, just cleaving through the armor of these Graveguard. We are now rear charging with the Centaurs as well, just to get that crumbling. And all these units are crumbling away. Heinrich is now going down to the Gorbel there, and looks like Krell finally summoned here, a little late probably, but he's going to try and get on the Gorbel. I'd imagine Gorbel would probably win this fight one-on-one, although Krell could probably do some damage to him for sure. And yeah, decent hit actually there, but that's going to be it for the Vampire player. He does admit defeat, so well played to my opponent, and I enjoyed playing that battle. And this is a very good example of why mobility matters, and especially for the Beastmen, mobility matters a lot. Using terrain to your advantage as well is also very important. Getting those Black Knights to overchase on the Centaurs with great weapons was really, really nice. Then getting that nice ambush with these guys, the Sons of Goros and the other Centaurs. Great early get, just completely neutralized my opponent's mobility. Very, very nice for me. And then from there, it was mostly just a matter of kind of creating an appropriate engagement. Because his army was so much bigger than mine, if I had just charged straight up the pipe, I would have got surrounded and overwhelmed most likely. So that's why I was kind of sitting back, you know, trying to be patient with these Centaurs with throwing axes and the other units, just to try and use superior mobility. And then once we got the engagement we wanted, then we can bring our infantry down and, you know, kind of clean things up. So Morgr didn't have to do a whole lot. These two units of Bestigor came through pretty well also. The Ungor Spearman Herd performed admirably here. I'm surprised they didn't get terror-routed off by the Cairn Wraiths, but yeah, they did very well. A chevron each on these Centaurs with throwing axes. Very, very good units. A little bit underrated, I feel like. I don't see a lot of people bringing them, but they're a great toolkit unit. Centaurs with great weapons as well, a great toolkit unit, very, very fast, heavy hitting, armor-piercing damage, lots of good stuff to like there. These guys got a chevron, 86 kills, 92. Only 38 kills on the Butchers of Kalkengard, but they didn't see combat for too long. It was mostly just at the tail end there, so well played to Brutus X, my opponent. Hope you guys enjoyed watching that. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. I'm keeping it coming every day with more Total War Warhammer content. And of course, we'll be covering Total War Warhammer 2 when it comes out. So stay tuned for more, and we'll see you next time.